Tyrese Haliburton. Look, I think Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who we'll talk about in a minute, he's probably number 1 on the list, but Tyrese Haliburton is probably 2 for me at this point. Haliburton right now is in the midst of a 3-game stretch where he has 40 assists and 0 turnovers. He is the first player in league history to do that, according to Basketball References like Span Finder. 40 assists and 0 turnovers in 3 games is bonkers. That is like almost impossible for me to fathom. Oh, by the way, he's also averaging 20 points, 6 rebounds, and I think he's averaging like 2 steals in the middle of that time as well. So he's basically in the middle of a run where it's 26, 14, and 2 steals, and leading the Pacers on this surprise, incredible run right now where they're 12-8. Nobody expected it. This guy is unbelievable. And I don't know that enough people are recognizing how remarkable Tyrese Haliburton is and how he has completely transformed what the Pacers are doing offensively.
Yeah. I mean, everything that the Pacers are doing is built on transition. And even if it's not transition when you get to the half court, like they try and play in transition in the half court, like the majority of the screens that they set are going to be just like ghosted screens or minimal contact, or it's a push. Saying push off is wrong to put it, but like they're not built in setting contact screens. Everything is about continual movement, getting things going, having constant motion off the ball. It's part of why they've been a really exciting offense to watch. It's stagnated a little bit in recent weeks because some of their shot making's died down, but like they've been one of the best 3-point shooting teams in basketball after being very, very bad shooting wise last year and the year prior, both in actual percentages and just what their variety was and what they could do. It's different this year. And again, like Tyrese, in terms of what he does to get guys open, like he's gotten better at getting deeper into the paint with his own handle. I still think like it's crazy to say when he's averaging 20 points per game, but like I think that there's room for him to be taking more shots. Part of that is by nature of like he's an assist first guy. He's still figuring out how to be like a score first player. And I think that's always going to be something that he's teetering with and working on, but he's gotten into more something that Caitlin Cooper, a colleague of mine in front of yours, has written about. Like he's gotten into doing more of sidestep dribbles and just exciting self-created threes that instead of like he's had the stuff with his ability to like create from 3 in general, but like that's expanded. He's doing more in terms of like just getting to pull up to. It's just everything is starting to compound and get better. I will say the defense has been pretty abhorrent this year from him. I think that like, I mean, in part, like I think that's been the Pacers in general. Like they're 13th in defense right now. I think that's a little bit because Miles has been awesome, but their perimeter stuff's been all over the place. But he's struggling that in. But the stuff in general, I am interested to see if he can get to the foul line more. And I think that's part of continuing to get deeper paint touches, but he's been really impressive, man. The touch that he has inside the arc and then on the passes, like he's not just leading the league in assists by a small margin. Like Trae Young is second at 9.4 assists per game and Tyrese is averaging 11.3. Like it's really fun stuff. I know everybody brings up the Chris Paul comparisons. And I don't know where to fall on that, but it does feel like that same vein of he just makes things happen to a degree that others don't with the ball in his hands. And it's very fun to watch.
I think that, so he's not Chris Paul because Chris Paul was able to like live in the mid range and like keep guys on his hip and then be like an elite level pull up threat from the mid range as well. And I think that that's the difference right now. But in terms of the way that Tyrese like dictates the game in transition and dictates the tempo of the game and the pace of play, I do understand that. Like there's probably a better comparison for it on some level. Like, is it, yeah, like Jason Kidd was really good defensively. So like, it's probably not that. Like there's gotta be some comparison point out there for Tyrese from past generations that really makes sense. Like a bigger guard who, but like Tyrese can really shoot from 3 and like has that pull up ability from 3 now. it's hard to find the right mix of who he is, like going back to past generations. And I think that's part of why throughout his career he's been very undervalued. You go back to the season where he was like the 5th starter at Iowa State, where they had like Talon Horton Tucker and Nick Weiler-Babb and Mariel Shayok, I think, was on that
such
team.
A weird team, man. It's a fun team. Like that's the team I want to go back and watch.
Though. Yeah. Like an incredibly fun team. But like he was like the 5th starter on that team because he was like not super physically strong yet and couldn't really handle the ball like at a level commensurate with playing, full-time point guard in the Big 12. But then immediately took the jump next year as he got stronger, just got hurt. I think he hurt his wrist, if I remember correctly, in his sophomore year of college. And then he just felt like one of those guys throughout the pre-draft process that people doubted for whatever reason. I think I had him at like 7 or so. And I think I was even low on him. And I was one of the higher people on him. I don't think I was quite as high as a lot of the data-driven people. Like I think Kevin Pelton, God, I think KP had him at like 1 or 2 in that class.
Yeah, very high.
Yeah, like very, very high. But among like the scouting people, I was like, yeah, like I think he just makes guys better, like point blank. I didn't see this coming. I never saw him being able to dictate play this way. I saw him. I mean, this is what everyone thought Lonzo, like the highest echelon of what Lonzo like could be in the NBA is what Tyrese Haliburton is doing right now. He is dictating play constantly. He's taking pull-up threes. He is cutting really intelligently. He's playing good team defense. He's really bad on the ball, and I think that's what you're saying when you say he's a liability, because he does end up guarding on the ball.
Yeah.
But
I will say too, like maybe I'm biased because I like watch all of the games, but like that sounded shitty. I didn't mean it that way, but like I probably overly nitpick his team defense. But I think, like, to be honest, like when he was in Sacramento, I felt his defense was better just because he was doing less with the ball in his hands. Like his usage rate's been highest of his career, so
astronomical.
Expected.
Yeah. So it's this combination of skills is very difficult to find in a player. And he's almost novel in a way, like compared to other players around the league and compared to other, like the combination of skills that he has in the way that he utilizes them is somewhat novel, I guess I would say. It's not like he's the best point guard in the league, but it's just very different from any other point guard in the league.
Yeah, I think that's a really great way to put it, because like you mentioned in terms of like I think there were very understandable reasons for why he went lower in the draft than he did. But also, like,
he also, for what it's worth, like he also asked teams not to draft him.
Yeah,
like,
no, exactly.
That's a part of it too.
That's definitely part of it. But I think just in terms of like you're mentioning with, it's like so often I can pull up a player, like I can talk about Shea and I can compare Shea to plenty of players. Like I think there are a lot of guys that I can look at and see a lot of similarities to with Shea. I can't do that with Tyrese. Like you mentioned, like even like when people bring up the Chris Paul comparison, I think it's like the closest thing I can come with, but also it's so different still that it just doesn't feel right. And I think, like you mentioned with the novelty, there's such a difference in seeing a guy that you don't really know how to quantify what he is compared to past guys. And it's been a joy to watch him grow as a player. And we just need to stop relitigating the Kings Pacers trade, as far as I'm concerned. As we got that off my chest last week, but I mean, he's only 22 years old. He's doing this. So it's just, I'm very excited to see what happens next and how he continues to grow and develop. But yes, I mean, first-time All-Star for sure.
He is a first-time All-Star. Like as long as he stays healthy and as long as his team stays around like 500-ish, I can't see it.